Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs. Welcome to episode 186, Quantum Biofeedback and Energy Work with Cynthia Sharpe. Before we get into the show, I just want to let you know, just a little reminder to our listeners, Tony and I are now taking applications for our business mastermind. So if you do have a spiritual business and you're looking for a mastermind, an intimate group to work with and grow and go to your next level, go to lindsaymarino.com and you can get more information on how to apply for our January mastermind. Now let's get back to the show. I interviewed Cynthia, who is a certified biofeedback specialist and healing energy work practitioner, and we talked all about her experience and journey that started her on this quantum biofeedback and energy work journey. And then we got into the process of how she integrates the two with her clients. I have personally experienced energy work with Cynthia and also the quantum biofeedback experience, and it was amazing. So I can't wait for you to listen to the show and enjoy it. So I'm so excited to have Cynthia Sharpe here. She's a certified biofeedback specialist and healing energy work practitioner. And thank you so much, Cynthia, for taking the time to come on the podcast and talk with us today.
Well, thank you very much, Lindsay. This is just so much fun and you have a great energy. So thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I just want to kind of give everyone a background on how we connected, because there was a point where I was in Naples and, as a psychic medium myself, I'm giving so much energy to other people, and I also need energy healing too. So I remember walking into a store. I can't even tell you the name of it now, but they gave me your information, and then from there, we did a distance healing session. And I remember after that session, I felt like everything opened up for me. And it's very unexplainable because you can't really put words on energy healing, but it was just a feeling and a knowing that something shifted. And I remember my clear audience started opening up, and I started to hear spirit more right after our session. I felt amazing. And I never forgot about that. And then we just reconnected recently online. And I had a session with Cynthia all connected to biofeedback and energy healing. And I was just blown away. And actually, I was telling Cynthia before our call today that I was sharing with a friend an experience that I had with the session. And that I started to have this awareness, like, wait a second, something shifted even more so than I even knew when I was reflecting on a process that I was doing at a seminar. So I don't want to give too much away right now, because I want you to kind of tell us what biofeedback is. And maybe before that, tell us how you even got into this sort of work.
Wonderful. So first, I started with energy work for myself. I had been in multiple car accidents and was in excruciating pain, chronic pain, because of the car accidents. So I delved into color puncture, I delved into acupuncture, neuromodular therapy. There's a whole bunch of different types of energy work. So it's never just a combined process of energy, because there are just so many variations, to be perfectly honest. And I got into some body talk and did that. And then I had my son, and I got pregnant. During the time of pregnancy, I had gotten sick. I remember this one instance, and I called up the practitioner that I was working with at the time and said, I can feel I'm coming down sick, so I need to see you. So she got me in, and I never got sick. And there was a time that I was gaining weight, and I was eating the same, but just felt like something was off. And she helped balance my hormones. And I really feel that in doing so, it helped my pregnancy and helped like my own child's development, right? Because if hormones are balanced, neurotransmitters are better able to be received by the brain, et cetera, et cetera. So she happened to be the practitioner that helped me deliver my son.
Oh, wow.
And a week later, how full circle is that? A week later, we were at the pediatrician's office, and she had told us, well, I had suspected something might be happening, but his heart has changed. And the kind of issue that we're having leads me to suspect that he might be with Down syndrome. And for not having that diagnosis in utero, it was really, really hard to receive the news. And it was a shock. It was a trauma all at once. And I didn't like the feeling that I was having. I was sad. I was disappointed. And there are a whole range of emotions that come with getting a diagnosis. The uncertainty of what the reality will be in the long term. And then obviously getting through open heart surgery. So we get to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist says, well, we really want him to get to 5 months, but the chances is we're going to have surgery in 1 or 2 months.
Oh, wow.
But for him to make it, you need to get him to 5. So he was eating, and everything that he ate was all consumed and being burned up by the energy of the heart. And we totally take for granted what the heart does for the body and how, oxygen, blood, reaching organs,
yes.
etc. And especially the brain will do. So as soon as I got all that news in 1 week's time of delivery, so there's hormones being off balance after delivering. There's the whole wanting parenthood to be a certain way, and then having a completely different reality all at once happening, right? And then dealing with how do I accept this, or am I even going to be willing to accept this diagnosis? So I reached back out to the practitioner and I said, we need to see you. And it just started to unfold. I ended up reaching out to a previous practitioner I had never worked with, and she started asking me to come up and meet with her. And for some reason, every single time we would go up there, she would look at me and say, and you can do this. And I would look at her like, you have 10 heads. I don't understand. Like, I can do this, but I don't know. I don't have that power. That's amazing power. I don't have that. And lo and behold, it took being introduced to another practitioner who was learning a form of energy work. And I was watching her and said, wow, if it's that easy, I can do that. And I can limit the times that I'm taking my son to different appointments because this is stressful.
Yeah.
So my husband's father had just passed, and there was stress, not just in transition of diagnosis and acceptance and appointment after appointment that we were going through at that time, but then the death of his father. And I so wanted to lighten the load and be in control and be the one who could like shift it for the family. Because, we as women have that power if we allow ourselves that power, right?
Right.
And I just watched her and I was like, all right, I want to go ahead and learn this. I don't know what this is, but I want to learn it. And she had said to me when we first started, she's like, I'm going to be learning this energy work, and it can work on past lives. And what if, your son's life doesn't have to be what it is, what we're being told that it is? And I was like, yeah, I like that. Give me some of that.
Yes.
And when I watched her, I was like, I can do that. Okay, I can do that. And I took the class and loved it. And then I worked on my mom. And I say this lightly, but please don't take it lightly. There's a lot to energy work. I worked on my mom, and I didn't quite understand what I was doing at that time. For me, I was spiritually learning because the class didn't really teach me a lot of spiritual stuff. I just intuited a lot of spiritual and felt that every session should be sacred.
Yeah.
And that really has to go with my own South American Indian lineage that you totally connected with in our reading.
Oh, yes.
But I go to work on my mom, and all of a sudden I'm noticing that my right leg is numb, absolutely numb. And I can't shake it off. And it feels different than like, you know, how your leg goes to sleep and it has like the pins and needles and you're like, oh, if I can just shake it off.
Yes.
It felt completely different from that. It felt like that, but not like that. And it was just like, there are no pins and needles. There's no like shaking this off. I don't understand. And did the session and she was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, it was really hard to like pull your energy. And I told my husband what I had seen and didn't quite understand it. And it was her birthday, like 2 weeks later, I think it was. I always went around her birthday to my mom's house. And my husband's birthday is right around the corner from hers, 4 days after. So I called her up on his birthday and I said, hey, he's at the mailbox. Like, just want to let you know in case you want to wish him a happy birthday. And then I hung up.
Yeah.
My dad calls me later on and says, your mom's had a TIA. It's a small stroke. They can't find the blood clot.
Oh, wow.
They never could find it. So it gave me quite a bit of awareness of what energy work can actually do if we give it credence, and we don't have to always believe in it. We just have to be an allowance, right?
Yes.
And just be. And that, I think, is the hardest thing for any individual to learn. And it's been my process to go ahead and
so you were getting information before this happened. You knew that there was something like a flow that it wasn't flowing like it should have.
Correct. But I didn't understand at that moment what that meant or how it translated, because I was still learning the development and learning. And don't get me wrong, I am still learning because each and every body communicates differently.
Right. And the thing that I love about how you do your work too with like the biofeedback machine is you're getting things intuitively and you do things from a place of integrity. That's why I'm very picky about who I'm going to go to get any kind of healing. Like I want to make sure that I can trust them and I know that they're doing things with integrity, because that's how I do things. And I feel like that's a beautiful part of how you do things. You do things in integrity and you bring in your intuition along with the science of the biofeedback machine too.
Well, thank you. Yes, the biofeedback took time. So I got into the energy work and still was doing energy work for myself for when I was stressed as a mom, right? We still need healing as well. And it's very much like the Fibonacci circle, keeps on coming back around in a different space and time, right? And I did notice that sometimes when I worked with practitioners that it wasn't my stuff I was dealing with. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going through this in the relationship, but this is not my stuff. This is their stuff. And okay, I have to bring awareness to that and somehow release it and realize it's not mine. And I think in a day-to-day life, we can get bogged down with what's not ours.
Yes, that's so true. Especially people that are doing this work and they need, the healer needs a healer too.
Right, absolutely.
So it makes sense that would, it's easy to kind of take on everything when you're doing the healings.
Unless you're aware.
Exactly. Unless to see the patterns.
Right.
And also have the time to recharge and get your own sessions in the process, which I feel like is important for me. And I know a lot of psychic mediums that I work with, they're looking for healers like you too, to, have the awareness and then be able to get like an attunement too.
exactly. So the biofeedback came because my son was an insomniac.
Okay.
When he turned 3 and he started school, stress happened for him. It was like a big shift.
Mhm.
And I wish I would have known what was happening and would have been able to talk to myself of like, this is why he's going through that.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand, but it really catapulted into and exacerbated into insomnia where I'm not talking about like waking up a couple nights or a couple times a night. I am talking about I've woken up at 1 a.m. in the morning and I'm not going to let you sleep until like the next day.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Um, yeah, happily, playing, loud, screaming, you name it, like in his room, in our room, just constant. And it got to the point that my health was being impacted because without sleep,
Yeah.
sleep deprivation, right, can really, really cause some major health issues. So I walked into a biofeedback office thinking, yay, this sounds like an absolutely perfect place to go ahead and be. And I'm looking for a place to do energy work. We exchanged and I learned how that practitioner did energy. And it was like he had given my son a ton of chocolate chip cookies from Publix and said, go to town, kid. My son was bouncing off the walls. And I was like, well, I'm not quite sure that I want to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. You
And
knew that
6 months
something.
later, right, I met two ladies who were training practitioners how to do biofeedback and stepped into their office. And they are why I do biofeedback and
Wow.
how I do biofeedback.
So I love like listening to the stepping stones of things that, we might consider, a problem or a tough time in life, but you took it and you took it to a new level and thought, okay, I can find a solution or I can find something to help. And that brought you through to your mission, which is amazing. Um, can you share what biofeedback really is? Because I know you have some things with you in your space that you're in, like what it looks like and maybe what it treats too.
Okay. So, first, let me say that my biofeedback is a quantum biofeedback machine, which means that there are different kinds of biofeedback devices. The very first one was a thermometer, right? We had, when I was a kid, we had the thermometer, the mercury thermometer that you could put under your tongue and it would give you a quick line read of like what your temperature was. Simple, that's biofeedback. But it has since developed into like an EEG or an EKG, where there are nodules that are put onto the body and there's a scan submitted and there's a printout or a screen, right, of what is going on with the heart, what the blood pressure is, the heart rate is. That's biofeedback. Mine is quantum in that I can do homeopathic remedies, I can do Ayurvedic remedies, and the initial scan that takes about 10 minutes goes through 7,000 different items for one scan.
That's
And
amazing.
it's a huge scan, but it really breaks it down into very tangible, very concrete. This is what's going on, and this is what's stressing out your body. That's creating the physical reality and or the emotional reality that you're experiencing. Because if we don't create awareness of what's going on in our physical bodies, our emotional state can be ramped up. That's why anxiety happens, because our hormones could be off, our neurotransmitters could be off, our enzymes could be off. What we're eating and choosing to eat on a physical, mental, spiritual level will really quantify what our experience is and either give us pleasure or give us inflammation.
Right. And so just to kind of give everyone listening some content to this, when I did my session with you, you had me send a photo of myself to you and answered some questions and said, like, what do you want to work on? And I was thinking, I don't know what I want to work on. There's so many different options I can give you. And you're like, just pick one and put it on there. And that's what I did. And then from there, I think you asked for my birthday and my birth time, right? That's what you usually ask for. And then
there's a whole intake. Yes.
Okay. And then it goes into the system. Do you put the picture in the system too?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you actually put the image in the system. And your system, the actual machine, are there two parts to it? I know you showed me two things that you have with you today.
So there is the computer system. Let me get it so that the software is up. There's a computer system that is hooked up to the interface, and the interface is hooked up to the client. And this can be done remotely, so don't negate the power. There's always that question. Is it diluted because I'm not there? It's so funny. You walk into a room, you turn on the light switch, you don't say, gee, that light might not shine as bright as if I were putting the light switch right here.
Yeah.
It just is on, right?
Right.
So
I did the distance session and I felt it like you were in the room with me.
I do have some pretty intense energy, huh?
Yes. Yes.
In a good way.
In a good way.
So
yeah.
This is the actual software, but then we have the interface right here. So if you had been in, we would put a glass of water right on here, and I would do the actual session, and it would actually send and charge the water. At the exact same time, this pad would be on your back or somewhere on your body, sending energy into you, into your auric field.
Okay. And just to tell people that when you were doing it, I felt like you were touching the top of my head when you said, just anything that comes up, just let me know. And I'm like, I feel like your hands are on my head. The crown area of my head felt buzzing. I felt that warmth when you were doing it. And some people I know have different experiences with it, but that's what I experienced.
I really feel that a lot of my work is about balancing the nervous system.
Yeah.
And I say that because of my son. He has shifted me so much and created so much awareness in good and bad ways of what my faults are, and created that and going, okay, I don't want to do that again. And so when you talk about integrity, he's really held me to, like, what kind of life do you want to live and how proud of you do you want to feel? Because if you're going to act like this, you're not going to feel good about yourself. But if you act like this, you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me rise up and do that. Right?
Right.
And we are on this planet to do that, to rise above it.
Totally.
And to see the beauty in each other and to honor it and go, you know, I have compassion for you. I've been there too. I know how difficult this is, but I also know how well that if you choose to do it, I will stand right beside you and honor you, walk the path right with you to give you the strength and all that you need to make this transition happen.
Yes. And that's so amazing beautiful.
That every individual did that for each other.
It's true. It'd be very powerful it's funny because I feel like right now everything's getting even more sensitive in our world, and people are rising up in a different way, or they're feeling called to. And this is why it's so important to have people that are doing these things like yourself, share, and people coming to you. I'm sure there's I think people are waking up in a new way, and they're looking for different options for healing rather than the traditional way.
I absolutely agree.
So,
you know, it's funny that you bring that up, because in the last, you know, that I've been displaced since Hurricane Ian because our house got flooded.
Yes.
And it took a little bit of time of coming back. But in the last month that I've come back, it's been all these people going, so I'm addicted in this aspect, and I'm having this addiction, and a lot of it is cannabis, THC, and so forth. So people wanting to say, okay, but I'm doing this, and technically it's medically allowed, but you know, that may not be like the thing that's really right for me. And
Okay,
they're
so they're
looking for
coming.
something else to shift
So
that.
you're doing the biofeedback on them. So they're sitting through a session, whether it's distance or in person. And then for them, just to kind of give a feel to the people that are listening, you ask questions. I remember with me, you were talking to me when I was sharing something that I was going through a few years ago that was still lingering in my mind. And I had these repeated thoughts, and you were just having a conversation, but it was moving energy. Can you explain that process? Like, in terms of like the addiction piece, like giving that example of what it would be like for someone that came to you for an addiction.
So when you think about addiction and you think about addictive thoughts or just plain addiction, it's energy, right? It's it's not going anywhere. It's just potential energy that just keeps on recycling, right? We're on that hamster, right? And what we're wanting is to get off that hamster wheel and actually go run.
Yes.
In a free field and feel that freedom. When I'm talking to an individual, I'm saying certain and specific words, which I know you noticed in our session. Like, my words are almost like that acupuncture needle going right to the actual source.
Yes.
And going, so is that what I'm exactly understanding? This is what I'm hearing. Is this, in fact, your reality? Because I want to make sure it's true.
Yes.
Is that how you see it? And then I energetically start working on that because, well, vortexes can shift anything. A nice tornado can uplift and like move a house. Why can't we?
Exactly.
Right? So if you do that and you start realizing there is a potential for a different perspective, we can get stuck in a certain perspective. If we allow ourselves, we can step out of the reality and turn our seats or stand up and literally shift a perspective and go, I never saw it that way.
Yeah.
Technically, two people could be on opposite sides having different realities, but they're still, their reality is truth for them.
Right.
Until you see the whole picture.
Yes.
That's what I provide in my sessions.
That is a great way of describing it, because I was telling a friend I shared with you that we were out to lunch, and I was like, I don't know how to describe what happened. I just know a lot shifted. And I started to think about it because I went to the Tony Robbins seminar, and there was a moment there where I was like, oh, I released something that I had been hanging on to for a few years. And I recognized that the healing was still taking place even after our session that we had together. But it was very hard for me to put it into words about what was happening. But it really is an energetic shift where you can tell someone something, but until they experience it in their body or their awareness, it doesn't feel the same. And I feel like when you were working with me, there was things that I could feel the movement, those shifts happening. And I remember when we were about to get off of our call, I'm like, okay, this sounds kind of funny, but I feel like I'm like buzzing. Like, I feel like I'm like on a whole nother level. I don't feel like I'm here. It almost felt like the feeling I would get after I do like a Messages from Heaven event where I'm doing a bunch of readings for hours. I felt like I was so present. Like I had just meditated for an hour. So I just want people to know, like listening, that until you have the experience also, it's very hard to put into words, but how you're describing it is exactly the best way to describe what happens when you're working with people.
We take for granted that each and every relationship is a chemical reaction, right? We are either attracted or we're repulsed. And
Yeah.
fortunately, we're attracted, right? We have this nice exchange, and we had a different kind of exchange during your session.
Yes.
So that chemical reaction and all that work that we did,
Yeah.
what it sounds like is endorphins were released, some nice serotonin. You felt uplifted,
Yeah.
right? When you
Yes.
have endorphins released, which is like a nice workout, you feel a lot better. Your
Yes.
mind can actually think because you're getting oxygen to your brain, and your
Yeah.
reactions are different because, well, you feel much more present,
Right.
right? You're
And
less reactive, you're more responsive.
that's exactly how it felt. And it felt like I didn't know how much energy had in the background of the situation that thought that I let go of, that I was holding on to, that was kind of taking over my energy, where I'm like, I can't even stay focused, but I didn't know that it was affecting me that much until it was lifted away from me, if that makes sense. And then you're like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
I have so much free space right now to think clearly and to be present and to feel peaceful, and just, I feel like myself again.
So,
So
right, like, if you put it in like in car terms, the image that came to me is kind of like the spark going off.
yeah,
And yeah, you turn on the engine and yes, it could ignite, right? But sometimes there's just a continuous spark that starts to burn. And those thoughts are continuous sparks that are just kind of burning in the background. You know, who wants that smell of like sparks burning? We
right.
really want it to just run and flow and be like, okay, I can drive.
Yes. Yes, totally. Now, I want other people to know how they can work with you. And do you recommend one session, more than one session? You're located in Naples, right? If they do it in person?
Yes, I am located in Naples. Um, so this can be done remotely. This can be
Yes.
done where I had a little baby today that I was working on. I've never met the baby, completely different state, had some respiratory issues going on. And the family wanted me to just text what was going on. They didn't want to be on video. They wanted to be able to work and do their thing, but still know that I was doing my thing.
Yes.
And they're in the medical field. That's the amazing part. They're in the medical field.
Oh, amazing. And I
And we're like,
love that.
when we first started, we're just so in shock of what was possible.
Yes.
And now, whenever anything happens, the baby is 4 months old. Anything happens with that baby, I am the one that they call to say, hey, by the way, yeah, this is what's going on, and we need your assistance. It's amazing.
I love it. I love that people are waking up, and this is powerful stuff.
Yes.
And amazing.
I also do the video, the conference that like we did video
Yes.
sessions, which I feel a little more of for those who are new to it and who
Yeah.
want to like have that connection and have that soul uplifting. I feel that that is the best way to go ahead and do it. So they don't have to drive all the way down,
Right.
right? They can experience it this way and get what you were talking about, get that energetic exchange and still get the awareness from the biofeedback going, okay, so we're working on your acupuncture meridians. Have you been having shoulder problems at this time? Yeah, I have. Okay. And some digestive issues because this also works on this digestion, blah, blah, blah. So it would all come up through the system. And then I'm working on the thought process, the energies, shifting everything in an hour and a half for an adult, an hour for a child. And the other one is a hands-on energy work session, which one day
Yes.
we're going to do.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I would love that.
And then they're lying down having the biofeedback and my hands, my hot hands working on them.
Amazing. So if they want to book a session with you, tell us your website, and I'll put it in the comments too.
So it's Synchronicity with my name, CynChronisity. And I did that because from the moment that I had my son, it was one thing right after another that was just such synchronicity. It wasn't like, oh, coincidence. It was way beyond there.
Yes.
And I do believe that synchronicities happen and it's spirit communicating in a far more powerful way to say, this is meant to be. This person came into your life, this thing happened, etc. And that's why synchronicity.com.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I want to leave you off on a question that I ask all my guests. If today was your last day, what would you like to be remembered for?
Always wanting to be of help and of assistance to anyone and everyone, however I may be.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for taking the time to share your heart and your mission with us. And I will talk to you soon, definitely.
You have blessed me. Thank you very much, Lindsay. I appreciate you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.